escaping the shadows. I know it's hard to put one foot in front of the other.
Welcome to the channel. My name is CeeChronicles and I post fragrance related content. Please consider subscribing and joining the family. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. Also remember to hit the like and share button, guys, as those two buttons help with the YouTube algorithm. If you do have a channel, in the comment section drop the fact that you do have a channel so that I can also return the favor. Maison Alhambra has dropped this series which they're calling the Luxe Edition. The inspiration behind the Luxe Edition was that of fragrances from Bond number 9. This one is Luxe Chic. That's the bottle, right? If you're turning it around, that's the bottle. I'm gonna presume this one draws inspiration of Nolita simply because of the graffiti on the box, unless Maison Alhambra threw us off. Now the opening of this fragrance is white florals combining to be sort of like one presentation where you cannot really exactly pinpoint to say, okay, this is the floral that's doing the most, right? That lily, jasmine, freesia, that sort of thing. But the florals to me are coming across as soothing, and there is something definitely there that feels like a citrus. I did cross check whether Nolita's description is something I'll smell from this, because remember, as I said, I don't have that fragrance, so I'm not here to say, oh, it smells the same or what. I'm just giving you my opinion based on what others were saying. This could be something in line with that, because what I get is a gentle combination of lots of white florals, but not pushing this one to green, and then a bit of that citrus coming across there as sweet, fusing with those white florals. The profile in itself presenting as feminine, but also soft. Right? In as much as there could be woods in here, what then predominantly stands out is those white florals, but tamed, right? And then a musky accord. I bought these ones, let them sit for about 3 weeks or so. That particular time was enough for me to say, okay, these have macerated. So in terms of performance, whether this is gonna push a little further, I don't know. Now, as I continue to sniff like this, there is something in here that's emerging that's kind of rosy. Okay, so for some, you're gonna perceive the white florals as well as a rosy thing. And when I say quite rosy, how a rose interprets to my nose, it's sometimes got a tang. Sometimes a rose can be lemony. So there's a little bit of a tang that I'm feeling here, which is something that I do get from the flower, the rose flower in itself. So it could very well have the rose on top of those other mixed florals. However, this is not going to be a heady floral. It's going to be something that's pretty easy to carry, because it's giving me something that's careful in presentation of everything, right? It is just that musky, floral, soft, cashmere, slightly powdery scent, maybe a little bit spicy. If you dig deep enough, giving them a test run, I could smell this one actively for about an hour on my clothing, but it does wear gentle. It didn't give me that beast mode vibe. It just sat close to my skin there. I smelt it actively for about 2 hours. After that, it was just wafted off. So this is probably going to push to about maybe 4 hours, after which you'll need to reapply based on like 15 sprays. So that is what I can say, guys, about Luxe Chic. So next up is Luxe Blanc. I think this is closest in presentation to what Tribeca looks like. And no, I do not own Tribeca. I'm going to tell you exactly what my nose is perceiving, just as a person who's smelling perfume, okay? This is Luxe Blanc. The bottle is going to be identical to the previous one. I'm going to spray it here. You see, this is what I was saying. The bottles are pretty awkward because, I don't know, I think it's easier to spray using the thumb with these ones, okay? All right, now of the two, this is the one I probably like the most. It has like a nutty, accord rising to the surface there, and something that feels chocolatey, cacao-y, but not juvenile chocolatey, but wafts of chocolate done in a grown way to an extent, the way I like it. I think perhaps maybe the reason why this chocolate is presenting as what I perceive as grown to my nose is it is then anchored by a jasmine. So a jasmine comes into the mix. So the top of this is an evident, nutty thing, and then a chocolatey thing, like just a tease of the chocolate, but enough for you to perceive it, that cacao. It quickly communicates that it is a sweet fragrance, not as sticky sweet as Baccarat Rouge. Remember, I did say it does have a sweetness when I was unboxing it, and was based off first impressions, where I said it does kind of have the sweetness of Baccarat. I'll still keep those sentiments, and that could possibly be something that's happening because of the caramel. Here, I do perceive a caramel. So this then becomes gourmandish to my nose because of how sweet it is, but not gourmandish crossing over to foodie, but it's certainly on the sweet side, where if you do get a compliment wearing this fragrance from somebody saying you smell yummy, that is exactly what they would have perceived, because yes, it is a sweet fragrance, and that cacao is really doing wonders in here. The floral, which is that jasmine that I said is, you know, also coming into the mix, is not doing the most. To an extent, say, if I said to a jasmine lover, you're gonna love it because it's got the most whatever jasmine, that will be a little bit misleading. But I can tell somebody to purchase this based off if they like fragrances with caramel, if they like fragrances with a very nice, really done, refined cacao, if they like fragrances with something that's going to be nutty, a little bit woody, a little bit spicy, but not crossing over to too much. Luxe Chic was very careful and soft, like keeping it classy. This one is a little bit in your face, and for that reason, I'm gonna say this is most likely gonna last a little bit longer. And when I wore this, 5 hours in, I could still smell it. And then there was something there that was kind of like interpreting as a little bit coconutty to my nose. I don't know what it was, whether it's a mixture of some of the combination of those notes or something that is in this one that hasn't been put out there, that kind of gets my nose perceiving it as a little bit coconutty but not crossing over to milky. So that is what I can say about this in itself. If I'm to put a ratio, I'm going to say is 85% feminine because of that sweetness. But why I say men could probably wear it is because of that likeness to Baccarat Rouge, a fragrance that men or women can carry, but this is not outright, so this is going to be somewhere in between this. I'm just giving you Baccarat Rouge for the sake of a mental shortcut. Seasons, I think this one can do all year round as well as the first one. Next up, guys, is these two, and I thought to honor them side by side so that I just help anybody who maybe were eyeing them, you know, to know my thoughts as to which to go for. So this is Lasha Monte Eclatant, and this one is Lasha Monte. So these are sisters, just based off the name, and I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to tell you my thoughts again about this one, and we conclude and move. This is the atomizer. Now, I know this one, guys, hasn't gone around as perhaps a smeller like to Angel Nova, but to me, that's kind of like what I get. Now, from Maison Alhambra, they did give us a fragrance called Alive Now, and Alive Now was the one that was at par with the Angel Nova in terms of everything. Now, if you want to know the differences, whether, you know, this one then is the same thing, why did Maison Alhambra give us this rendition? It's not the same in the sense that one, the Alive Now is super, super sweet with a masculine accord, a very present berry fruit there. Mental shortcut, this is going to be an if you like, you're probably going to like, right? So if you love fragrances built around that berry, raspberry, black currant, very fruity, effervescent to an extent, sweet even, a very soft rose, peony type of situation, drying down vanillin and musk, you know, this is what this fragrance is basically all about. And if you've smelled from the house of Lattafa, Maya, I think the original Maya, the one in the pink bottle, there's going to be something that is similar to this, but it's not a Maya clone. Maya was likened a lot to My Way and Angel Nova by Mugler. So this is kind of like a, you know, a combination of all of that, but it has pulled a lot of votes, you know, from people comparing it to Pink Boa, you know, by Stephen Humbert. I cannot speak about that because I haven't had that fragrance to my nose, so it could very well be like that. But if at all Pink Boa is like this, then I'm gonna say, if you love Pink Boa, if you love Angel Nova, if you like My Way, if you like fruity, effervescent, girly fragrances, even fizzy, fun, summery scents, then you're gonna love this with a decent amount of sweetness. Season, it's obviously gonna shine more in the summer because of the scent profile. Now we move on to the one that was a little bit exciting to my nose, and the irony of it is when I purchased this too, I was very sure I was going to love this one, but it turned out that I did love this one the most. So this one is just the Lasha Monte. So this is the green one. Okay, this I like because it's easy to carry, crowd pleasing in its own right, but it's not immediately reminding me of something. What I get is a musky fragrance, a pretty floral. I also get some citruses in here. And the magic happens with this one when it comes to the spiciness. There is something here that is coming across as a spicy, especially pink pepper, okay, not black pepper. So this is going to be one of those happy fragrances, smelling elegant, floral, feminine leaning to my nose. Of course, it does have a little bit of woods, but not enough to say it's woody. This is certainly not on the woody side. This is certainly a floral, guys. I love the fact that the floral, though combining, you know, with the patchouli, lily of the valley, is not also piercing. And the thing that maybe has me biased on this one is the fact that it lists orange blossom in the notes. And when it comes to orange blossom with me, orange blossom is sometimes a love or a hate, because it can be screechy, it can be too powdery. Now in this, it's hidden. It's almost as if, why did they even say it has orange blossom? Because it's not orange blossom as the way I usually perceive it. This is certainly on the floral, you know, a little bit clean, faint, very faint fruitiness of the citruses, because you know citruses are volatile, so they usually don't hold up to the end. I checked with what some people are likening this to, and there were a couple of people saying rouge smoking. Honestly, I do not perceive rouge smoking in this. Rouge smoking is the cherry, the pink pepper, the citruses, and some tonka, which I'm not perceiving, you know, cherry in this. I'm not perceiving a very present tonka in this. And to cut to the chase, rouge smoking is not the first fragrance that this one reminds me of, just on first, second, third, or even fifth spray. Because remember, I did do a test run of this, so I don't know whether it's my nose that is kind of misleading me there, but I don't get that. That is it, guys, for Lasha Monte and Lasha Monte Eclatant. All right, now we move on to Pink Eclipse. If you watched my unboxing of this fragrance, I was 100% sure that I was not going to like this one, right? And this one is the one that draws inspiration of that Prada paradox. And why I said I did not like this, you know, I travel a lot, and when I do travel, I go through the duty-free shop to purchase my fragrances from there, because that's where you can get them duty-free. And I remember spraying Prada paradox, and all I got was powder, all right? A lot of mature powder is exactly what I got from Prada Paradox, which is something that I would say, yes, this fragrance is built around a powderiness, some citrusiness, but also has an airy freshness to it. And the combination of the white florals in this is something that I can say about this. The fact that this had white florals, but they were not pushing it. So this also does list white florals. Whether or not that note pyramid is correct or not, I don't know. But I know I did see this one listing a lot of white florals, which is that orange blossom, the jasmine, the neroli. Yes, it is a floral pulling towards white florals, but mostly it gives the pear enough limelight to make it a nice pear scent. Yes, it does transition into that powderiness, which I was a little bit worried about. It does transition into it, but I don't get too much powderiness like what I get from the real thing. Also has a sweetness there coming from the vanilla, but it dries down to a little bit of the florals, and that pear may be secretly working with another fruit, because there is something there that comes across as fruitier than just a pear. So that is what I can say, guys, about Pink Eclipse. My skin held on to this for a while, which was 3 hours in, I could smell it. Right now, first hour, yes, I could smell it actively. 2 hours, I could. 3 hours in, it was like kind of like a gentle, comforting scent, something you'd want to wear at bedtime on the skin. But in the clothes, waved them around, it was still a little bit present. But of course, after 5-6 hours, I literally had to put the clothes on my face. So that's gonna be what to expect of the lasting power. Second from last is gonna be Fearless, and this is the one that I'm least wowed. Well, there are two that I'm least wowed about from my edition. So this one says Victorioso Fearless, and it comes in a bottle that kind of looks like a wannabe to the Creeds, but I can tell you, Offset, this is very big. I mean, the camera is not even doing justice to this. It's big. The scent profile in itself is not horrible. I had higher expectations, possibly because of how it is in a bottle that kind of looks like a Creed bottle. But what you are to expect in this is a fruity scent with some warm spices there, a little bit of some aromaticness, you know, possibly a lavender, but not a pushy lavender. In terms of aromaticness, I'm going to say the lavender here is maybe adding some 10, 15, 20% aromatic tone to the mix, but essentially it becomes a fruity, sweet scent with something there that feels like apple. Amazingly, it does have a decent lasting power, you know, regardless of the fact that it is a fruity floral. It does have a good lasting power. I could perceive this one up to 5 hours in. I could still smell it. Not too active, but I could smell it. And I think it's because of that aromatic thing tying it down there, and possibly some spices and woods. So if you like your jammy scents, crowd pleasing, you know, non-complicated scents, Fearless is going to be, you know, for you. This I can tolerate, but I'm not exactly wowed because it just feels like it's a lazy composition, right? Now, this is the one I thought I would love the most. Vanille Drama from Fragrance World. Why? Because they went for something that is in the Dior private line. And I'm not saying fragrances are, you know, from the Dior private line and all that, but I'm just saying, if you have read or listened to people raving about Diorama, you won't even want to sniff this. You'll just say, okay, if this is a Diorama dupe, I don't care whether they got it right or whatever, they can't be dismal, so I'm just going to purchase it. Now, let me tell you my thoughts when it comes to this one. And granted, it could be one that may need a little bit of some time, because with vanilla, remember, vanilla can be a hit or miss. Now, this one certainly does give you a serving of that vanilla. The vanilla promises to be something that could be nice, but it just has something in there that is kind of, I don't know whether I should call it boozy, whether this one has a rum, which is something that was unexpected to me. This is a vanilla, okay, but the vanilla is kind of doing a push and pull with the booze, okay, which is rum or whatever they've put in there, to an extent that some of you are going to perceive this one as oaky. Some of you are going to perceive this one as woody than, you know, what I expected to be a sweet vanilla, right? Working with maybe a little bit of some cardamom to kind of neutralize the sweetness. This is sweet, yes, but there is something that is kind of like fighting with the vanilla, making it my least favorite. However, I'm going to cut it some slack and put it on the side and see if I should revisit it maybe after 2 months, maybe after it darkens, it's going to be a little bit different, because at the moment it's presenting as a push and pull of everything. If there is cacao here, it's buried and muffled. It does feel like a fragrance that can layer with a lot of fragrances, but on its own, it's gonna need a little bit of some time based on my notes. Chronicles is my name. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. Remember to turn on post notifications, guys. That way you get to be notified anytime I upload a video. Like and share this one. And remember, guys, that smelling good is a form of good manners. Cheers.